Hey, hi friends and namaste. Welcome to the new session of AZ 900 exam, that is Azure Fundamental exam of set 4. In this particular session, we are mainly going to cover around 72 questions. And yeah, so guys, before going to start the questions and answers, let me tell you till now we have covered almost three modules. That is the module 1, that is understand your cloud concept, almost approx 15 to 20% of weightage, and your module 2, understand core Azure services, uh, of covering almost 30 to 35% of weightage. And the last session was that is set 3, that is understand security, privacy, compliance, and trust. That is almost of weightage of having 25 to 30%. So in this particular session, we are going to cover understand Azure pricing and support, that is of 20 to 25% weightage. So yeah, let's get started. So guys, those who are new to this channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this channel. Yeah. So we'll start with the question number 1. So you have a virtual machine named VM1 that runs Windows Server 2016. Okay, VM1 is in the East US Azure region. Which Azure service should you use from the Azure portal to view service failure notification that can affect the availability of VM1? See, uh, as I told you, you understand the question, guys. So it's asking you which service, okay, which Azure service you are going to use from the Azure portal to view the service failure. So service failure notification. So you'll get a notification that your particular service gets failed. It's related to some kind of a monitoring, right? You need to understand like that. So if something gets failed, so you'll get some notification, right? Some kind of a monitoring is in place. Then only you'll be able to see what kind of a service is get failed. So if you go to any of the definition of this Azure Service Fabric, is nothing to do with this one. Azure Virtual Machine is a different. That is just a virtual machine, right? That is a virtual machine. It could be a Linux server. It could be your Windows server, right? Azure Advisor is what? Azure Advisor I have already told you in the previous session. Like those are your used for your optimization, your cost calculation, right? So that is there. So there is which option left with, that is Azure Monitor, right? So answer for this one is nothing but that Azure Monitor should be in place. Then only you are going to get that notification, right? So you can see also the answer is Azure Monitor, yes, right? Moving to the next question, that is question number 2. This question is a part of series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question set might have more than one correct answer, or you can say one correct solution. So while other might not have a correct solution. So after you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return its series of questions. It is same only. You remember this kind of a questions we have already done with, where once you go with some questions will be there, right? So you cannot roll back. So once you answer, if you think you have given the wrong answer, so you cannot come back and you cannot means edit your answer, right? You cannot make changes within the answer. So please make sure while you are answering this kind of a question, so you should be 100% sure this. Okay, what is the question? An Azure administrator plans to run a PowerShell script that creates Azure resources. Fine. So you need to recommend which computer configuration to use to run the script. Okay. Solution is run the script from a computer that runs a Linux and has the Azure CLI tool installed. Azure CLI tool installed. Does this meet the requirement? No, this doesn't meet the requirement, guys. I'm telling you. See, if you if I clearly explained in the previous session what to as an administrator, okay, you are planning to run a PowerShell script, okay, so that should be run from a PowerShell only, correct? It cannot be done from Azure CLI, right? So if it is a if it is something you are common kind of stuff, then you can use Azure CLI or Linux or like that. But what it's telling is he has to run a PowerShell script that creates Azure resource. So the answer is no. You can see also the answer is no. The reason behind this one is because PowerShell scripts, if you want to run something, we cannot run it from Azure CLI, okay, or we cannot run it from your Linux, okay. That is a PowerShell script. Like suppose if you want to only run the shell script, then you can run it from a Linux machine, okay. So yeah, moving to the next question, the answer is no for this one. Now the next question is series B, because this is a series of questions, so it's asking you an Azure administrator plans to run the PowerShell script that creates Azure resources. You need to recommend which computer configuration to use to run the script. Same only. Run the script from the run Chrome OS and uses Azure Cloud Shell. Does this meet requirement? No, this doesn't meet the requirement. What does it mean by it should run from Chrome OS? Does it? It's there is no relation, right? I told you, right? Even it's a Azure Cloud Shell also, it's not going to run. Okay. Now the next question, you can see also it's no answer. Okay. Now the next question is, as I told you clearly, if you want to run that one, then you need to run it from the PowerShell only. A PowerShell script only going to run from a PowerShell. Okay. So it's same only. You need to recommend that computer. The question is same. So now this time it's telling you run the script from a computer that runs a Mac OS and has PowerShell core 6.0 installed. Does this meet the requirement? Yes, it meets the requirement. Okay, so you can see the answer is yes. Correct. So now moving to the next question, guys. That is question number 5. Okay. The question number 5 is, you have an Azure environment that contains a 10 virtual networks. Remember, 10 virtual networks and 100 virtual machines. Okay, within that network, there should be some virtual machines. Okay, we don't know how many in one network, how many virtual machines are there. Okay, so you need to limit the amount of inbound traffic. There is something called security group. In security group, there is something called inbound traffic and there is something called outbound traffic. Means from outside, if you are hitting something, like suppose a URL, right, with some port number, so that is something called your inbound traffic. You are allowing everything to access your application. Okay, so this is for your understanding. Just try to understand. You need to limit the amount of inbound traffic to all the Azure virtual network. What should you create? Okay, so traffic, how you are going to restrict? Just in general, I am asking you. Okay, so and you cannot allow everybody to. Then you will put a barrier, right? If you want to stop someone outside, then you want to put a barrier, right? Same way here also, if you want someone to limit the traffic, means you don't want sudden, like so much of traffic will come, then right, to your network. So you need to limit with the firewall. That is the only solution, guys. So this is nothing to do with your network security group. Okay, that is nothing to do with your network gateway. That is nothing to do with your Azure Express root circuit. That is has to do with your one Azure firewall. Okay, so here you can see the answer is also one Azure firewall. Okay, guys. Now moving to the next question. The question is, see here you will get some kind of a screenshot. So you need to answer accordingly. So you need to review a list of planned maintenance events that can affect the availability of an Azure subscription. Which blade should you use from the Azure portal? Okay. To answer, select the appropriate blade in the answer area. Okay. So it's asking you, there is something I have explained you. Planned maintenance, unplanned maintenance, related to your fault tolerance, related to your update domain, related to your availability set. If you remember in the set one or in the previous sessions, right? So here it's asking you, like you need to view a list of planned maintenance events that can affect availability of your Azure subscription. Which blade should we use from the Azure portal? So you have list of these things, right, guys? Are you getting my point? Are you with me? The answer for this one is your help and support, guys. Okay, if you remember properly, I told you in some same, it's quite similar. The question is just here, they are giving you one diagram, according to that you need to answer. Okay, So it's asking which blade should you use in the Azure portal. That is help and support, guys. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, you can see also it's help and support. Okay, moving to the next question, guys. That is question number your 7. Okay, and integration of, sorry, and sorry, what it's telling you, we need to do the drag and drop. Okay, so you need to match the right answer towards your right side. Okay, so what we need to do is, like, see here we don't know for this one is the correct answer, this is the correct, or this is the correct answer. Okay, an integrated solution for the deployment of a code. Integrated solution for the deployment of a code. It's a pipeline for that, like in Jenkins, right? If you want to deploy a code to an environment like your UAT, your test acceptance, or your pre-prod, anywhere, right? So you need a pipeline. So here in Azure, there is something called Azure Devops, guys. So the answer for this one is your. This is wrong answer. Okay, the correct answer is your Azure Devops. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's a Azure Devops. Okay, now a tool that provides a guidance and recommendation to improve the Azure environment. Azure environment, how you are going to increase the a tool that provides a guidance. Remember, guidance and a recommendation to improve an Azure environment. How you are going to do that? So the answer for this one is your Azure Advisor. Okay, if you remember what is the definition of Azure Advisor, so that is the definition of its use for optimization, right, of your environment. So a simplified tool to build a intelligent artificial intelligence. Okay, AI. How you are going to achieve that artificial intelligence? Okay, that is nothing but you can get it by Azure Application Insight. You remember? These all are we have covered, guys. I'm telling you. Okay, very frankly. Okay, you no need to get. Uh, okay, so now monitor web application. If you want to monitor web application, what is the answer? That is Azure Cognitive Service. Okay, so just see. Okay, now you see the answer. The first one is your Azure Devops. Okay, the second one is your Azure Advisor. The third one is your Azure Cognitive Services, and the fourth is your Azure Application Insight. Let's see we have given the right or not. Okay, there is a mismatch. Okay, so instead of this, we need to answer this. Okay, so be very careful, guys, while answering these questions. Okay, and for monitor web application, we have something called Azure Application Insight. Okay. Fine. Moving to the next question, guys. So it's question number 8, right? So question number 8, what is telling you have an Azure environment. Okay, that contains multiple Azure virtual machines. That is fine. So you plan to implement a solution that enables the client computer on your on-premises network to communicate through the Azure virtual machines. So you need to recommend which Azure resources must be created for the planned solution. Okay. So, which two Azure resources should you include in the recommendation? Each correct answer present part of solution. Okay, what it's telling you? So, you need to recommend which Azure resources must be created for the planned solution. So, what we need to do is, guys, over here, you need to include a solution that enables the client computer, okay, on your on-premises network to to communicate to the Azure virtual machine. So you remember this is something your uh, point to site communication, right? So for that one, there is something you require a virtual network, right? So what is that answer for this one? Absolutely, you need a network for this one. So there are only two answers for this one, which is correct. So that is your virtual network gateway. You need to implement. Another one is your again virtual network, guys. Okay. So these two answers are correct. The answer is A and D, both. Nothing to do with the load balancer. Application gate has nothing to do with. Gateway has also nothing to do with. Gateway subnet. Subnet is something different. Let's see the answer. Yeah, the answer is virtual network gateway and virtual network. Okay, moving to the next question. This is also a same what I can say drag and drop stuff. So you need to match with the right answer. A managed relational cloud database. So you know the answer for this one. A managed cloud relational database, that is nothing but your Azure SQL database. The answer for this one is your Azure SQL database. Okay. Now the cloud-based service that leverages massively parallel processing (MPP) to quickly run complex queries across petabyte of. You know this answer. I have done already cover this question of a data in a relational database. The answer for this one, guys, can somebody tell me? There is nothing. That is Azure Azure SQL data warehouse. Okay. Now the third one, can some massively parallel data transform from and processing program across petabyte of data. Petabyte of a data. So if you remember, we need to process huge amount of data. Then there is something called Azure Data Lake Analytics. If you remember in set one or set two, I exactly can't say. Okay, so it's somewhere I have explained the same question with answer. That is Azure Data Lake Analytics. Okay, now an open source framework for the distributed processing and analysis of big data set in cluster. Now you have left with only SD inside. So Azure SD inside. Let's see the answer. Yeah, it's absolutely correct. You can see Azure SQL database, Azure SQL data warehouse, Azure data lake analytics, and Azure data inside, guys. Okay, moving to the next question. That is question number 10. And here you need to give the right answer, guys. Okay. So the question is like that. You need to identify which blades in the Azure portal must be used to perform the following tasks. View security recommendation, monitor the health of Azure services, browse availability, virtual machine images. So which blade should you identify for each task? To answer, select appropriate option in the answer area. Note each correct selection is worth of 1 point. Okay. So monitor the health of Azure services. So what do you think? Which is the correct answer? So it's nothing but your monitor only. Okay. So browse available virtual machine images. How you are going to browse your virtual machine images? By marketplace. Okay. So answer for this one is your this one is your this one. Okay, and this one is your marketplace. Okay, and finally view security recommendation that comes under Azure as well. Okay, moving to the next question, guys. What is that next question? Okay, so you can see the answers also. These are the answers: monitor, marketplace, and then Azure Advanced. Okay. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 11. This is also a series of questions, so you only read the questions. There is no rollback. Okay, so question is: you have an Azure environment. You need to create a new Azure virtual machine from an Android laptop. This everything we have covered in the session 1, 2, and 3. It's only same questions repeating, guys. So you use Bash in Azure Cloud Shell. So does this meet the requirement? Tell me quickly, yes or no. Yes or no. Yes or no. What it's telling. So you need to create a new Azure virtual machine from an Android laptop, and yes. Okay, so it meets the goal, guys. So you can see the answer also. It's meet the goal. Okay. Now moving to the next question, guys. What is this question is? This question I think we have already answered. You plan to create an Azure virtual machine. You need to identify which storage service must be used to store the data disk of a virtual machines. What should you identify to answer? Select the appropriate service in the area. You know this thing. I think all of you know this one. You know this one, right? Answer area, right? So you need to tell me just quickly, because see why I have given a pause to you, because same question we have covered for in earlier. First, to store the data disk, your blob files, guys, your blob of it. Okay, don't get confused with queue files or tables. Okay, you can see the answer over here. That is blob, right? Okay, moving to the next question, that is question number 13. Your company plans to move several servers to Azure. The company compliance policy states that a server named Ping server must be on a separate network segment. You are evaluating which Azure services can be used to meet the compliance policy requirement. Which Azure solution should you recommend? Tell me, this is little bit tricky, but you will be able to answer. I am sure that you will be able to answer. Just think and you can answer me in the comment guys. Okay. So what do you think? What is the answer? Okay. So the answer for this one is nothing but a B. A virtual network for FinServ and another virtual network for all other servers. Okay. Okay, moving to the next question, guys. That is, you can see the answer is B only. Okay, now moving to the next question. You plan to map a network drive from several computers that run Windows 10 to Azure storage. Okay, and you need to create a storage solution in Azure for the planned map drive. Okay, then how you are going to do that? Just think twice. What is the question is you plan to map a network drive from several computers that runs Windows 10 to Azure storage. You need to create a storage solution in Azure for the planned map drive. Okay, so answer for this one is your a file service in a storage account. Okay? A file service in the storage account. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 15. So question number 15, guys. So in this question, you plan to implement an Azure database solution. You need to implement a database solution that meets the following requirement. Can add data concurrently from multiple regions. Can store JSON document. So which database service should you deploy? Okay, so to answer, select the appropriate service in the answer area. So for multiple reasons, right? And can store your JSON document as well. So for that, the answer is Azure Cosmos DB. Okay, so if you can see also, the answer is Azure Cosmos DB, guys. Okay, moving to the next question, that is question number 16. So you can able to answer this question number 16 easily. Okay, so what is the question, guys? So question is your company plans to migrate its network resource to Azure. Okay, so you need to start a planning process by exploring Azure. Okay, so what should you create first? So you need to tell me. So see, if you want to start something, if you want to deploy something, so first thing is entry point, right? So you need to get register, right? You need to get the subscription, right? That is what. The first thing is you need to do is you need to take a subscription plan, right? So that is the answer for this one is your a subscription. So you can see also it's a answer is your subscription. Okay, moving to the next question, guys. That is question number 17. You have an on-premises application that sends email notification automatically based on rules. Okay, so you plan to migrate the application to Azure. So you need to recommend a serverless computing solution for the application. So what should you include? So you remember something, this the same question we have encountered in our set 2 or set 1. So serverless is for what? Serverless is your logic app, guys. So the answer for this one is your logic app. Moving to the question number 18, that you plan to deploy a website to Azure. Fine. The website will be accessed by user worldwide and will host large video files. So you need to recommend Azure feature, which Azure feature must be used to provide the best video playback experience. What should you recommend? So for this one you need to think. So it's asking you you need to recommend which Azure feature must be used to provide the best video playback. Means there should not be any buffering, right? That is what because video is all about, right? If you are able to, whether it's a Netflix or it's a any kind of OTT platform, right? Nowadays we are watching, so it's completely we saw that there is not a single buffering, right? Live streaming also will be able to see right? So that is because of your content delivery network. That is called CDN, guys. Okay. Now moving to the next question. See, the answer for this one is your CDN. Okay, moving to the next question is your company is planning to deploy a several million sensors that will upload data to Azure. Okay, so you need to identify which Azure resources must be created to support the planned solution. So, which two Azure resources should you identify? Each each correct answer present part of solution. Note each correct solution will work out 1 point. So it's asking you need to deploy a several million sensors. So obviously you need a so much of data analytics or like that, right? So for that, what do you think? What should be the solution? So the solution for this one is if it's related to sensors, then IoT should come into the picture. Okay. So that is what it's telling. Your company plans to deploy several millions of sensors that will upload data to Azure, and you need to identify which Azure resources must be created to support the planned solution. One is your IoT, and since we are going to use so many sensors, so much of data is involved in this one. So there is something called, and we need to analyze those data, right? So that is Azure Data Lake. Okay, so okay, you can see the answer also is Azure Data Lake and Azure IoT. Moving to the next question, guys, that is question number 20. Okay, we have an Azure web app, that is fine. You need to manage the setting of the web app from an iPhone. Okay, so what are two Azure management tools that you can use? Okay, so what we need to do, you have an Azure app, okay, a web app, and you need to manage the setting of the web app from an iPhone. So what do you think? Azure CLI can do this one, Azure Portal can do this one, Azure Cloud Shell can do this one. What do you think? Which should be the answer for this one? So first thing is Azure Portal can do this one. The setting, if you want to make any setting in the Azure web app, then you need to log into the Azure Portal, and it should be done from your Azure Cloud Shell also, guys. Okay, so let's see the answer. So yeah, you can see the answer is B and C, that is Azure Portal and Azure Cloud Shell. Okay, moving to the next question, guys. That is this question is requires that you evaluate the underlying text to determine if it is correct. Okay, you remember this kind of a questions we have already done, where you need to tell that the statement which is given above, okay, it should be correct. If it is correct, then no need to make any changes, no changes needed. And if you think the statement is not correct, then what should be the correct statement? So you can choose any of these answers, guys. Okay, so Azure SQL database has an SLA of 99.99%. Okay, so my bad. Let me go to the question once again. You have an application that is comprised of an Azure web app that has a service level agreement of 99.95%, and Azure SQL database has the SLA of 99.99%. The composite SLA for application is product of both SLAs, which equals 99.94%. Okay, if you take an average of all these two, then it will come around 99.94%. So review the underline and tell whether this statement is correct, or what should be the answer. No changes needed, or any of these answers should be correct. So yeah, absolutely correct. See, you cannot, if your SLA one agreement made the Azure web application SLA is 99.95% and another SQL database SLA is 99.99%. So you take the average of these two, right? So that is what, there is no change is required for this one. So the answer also you can see no change is required. Okay, moving to the next question, guys. Same. If a resource group named RG1 as deleted locks, okay, only a member of the global administrator group can delete RG1. Fine. Instruction: review the underline. If make statement correct, no change is needed. What do you think? Do we need to do any change, or it will be no changes needed, guys? Okay, just think. Okay, so the answer for this one is nothing but the delete lock must be removed before an administrator. What does it mean? It means if a resource group named RG1 has a delete lock, so okay, only a member of global administrator group can delete RG1. So why you need to delete the resource group? You can remove the lock itself, right? That is what we need to do. The delete lock must be removed before an administrator. Before an administrator come into the picture, you should be remove the lock. That's fine. Okay, so the answer is B, guys. So you can see also the answer is B. The delete lock must be removed before the administrator. Okay, moving to the next question, that Azure Germany can be used legal resident of Germany only. Instruction review the Azure Germany can be used for the legal, that is what, legal resident of Germany only. Okay, so what do you think? This is correct, or what should be the answer? So no change is needed. Only enterprises that are registered in Germany, and only enterprises that purchase their Azure licenses from a partner based in Germany. Any user or enterprise that requires its data to reside in Germany. Okay. So the answer for this one is D, guys. Any user or enterprise that requires its data to reside in Germany. Okay. Moving to the next question, that is, see, the answer for this one is any user or enterprise that requires its data to reside in Germany. Moving to the next question, guys. This is something, after you create a virtual machine, you need to modify the network security group. Okay, to allow connection from TCP port 8080 to the virtual machine. So you need to tell me this is correct or wrong. So what is, you know already what is NSG? NSG is nothing but network security group. So obviously, if you are creating a virtual machine, so that is inbound and outbound, you need to edit, you need to make changes, right? So then only your traffic will be coming from outside, and from inside your traffic will go to the internet, right? So no change is needed for this one. So answer for this one is, you can see, no change is needed. Okay, moving to the question number 25. uh, Question number 25 is, so this question is a part of series of question. You remember, once you give the answer, so there is no option to roll back, right? Sorry. So in this question, please make sure while answering the question, you should not, you should be 100% sure. Okay. Okay. So your Azure environment contains multiple Azure virtual machines. That is fine. So you need to ensure that a virtual machine named VM1 is accessible from the internet over HTTP. So solution, you modify a DDoS protection plan. Do you think this will work for HTTP? So what it's exactly telling is, so you have an Azure environment and that has multiple virtual machine, and you want to access that particular VM from over internet. That is not HTTPS also. It is normal HTTP. It is non-secure. So you modify a DDoS plan? No, absolutely no. So you can see the answer is no. Okay, moving to the next question, guys. The Azure environment consists of multiple virtual. So you need to ensure that a virtual machine named VM1 is accessible from the internet over HTTP. How it's going to access over internet over HTTP? So there is only one way, that is Azure Firewall, guys. The answer is, for this one, do you think the answer is yes? So yes, the answer is yes. Okay, moving to the next question, guys. Uh, that is, this we have covered, right? Uh, okay. So what is this question? Okay, this one we covered 26. Okay. Moving to the next question, same only. The question is same only. You need to ensure that the virtual machine named VM1 is accessible from the internet over HTTP. Solution, you modify Azure Traffic Manager. Does it work? No, it does. What it has to do with the Traffic Manager? It only has to do with the Azure Firewall. So you can see the answer is no. Moving to the next question, guys. Okay, the question is which two types of customer are eligible for Azure Government? You know you have already given the same answer in the previous question. Okay, to develop a cloud solution, each correct answer. Only a US, and US. Wherever you see Azure Government, then it's a US. So the answer is United States of Government entity and a United States of Government contractor. So here you can see the answer is same only. Now moving to the next question, guys. That is yes and no. You need to answer like that. So for each of to implement an Azure multi-factor authentication (MFA), okay, you must deploy a federation solution or sync on-premises identities to the cloud. No, that has nothing to do with the MFA. Has nothing to first. It has to be implement your AD, right? Your user ID, and it nowadays we are using everywhere MFA, that is multi-factor authentication. So there will be one approval or there will be one code you are going to receive on your mobile that has to be using by authenticator app, right? We are implementing this. Almost all the organizations are using this. To validate methods of Azure multi-factor authentication, picture identification and a passport number. No, not, it's not. See, to validate MFA, there is only passcode and there is something called approval notification will come to your mobile. And Azure multi-factor authentication can be required for administrative and non-administrative user account. Yes, that is true. It could be a administrative, it could be a non-administrative user account. So here you can see the answer is like that only. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 30. You need to ensure that when Azure Active Directory user connect to Azure AD from the internet by using an anonymous IP, the user are prompted automatically to change their password. So which Azure services should you use? You need to tell me this answer, guys. This is bit tricky question, I know, but you should be able to answer this one. That is for sure. Okay, so it's telling that you need to ensure that when an Azure Active Directory user connect to Azure AD from the internet by using an anonymous IP address, the user are prompted automatically to change their password. Which Azure service should we use? Azure AD Connect Health? No, that has nothing to do with one. Azure AD Privilege Identity Management? No. Azure Threat Protection, that is ATP? No. Azure AD Identity Protection? Yes. The answer is D. Azure AD ID Protection. So you can see the answer is same only. Now moving to the next question, guys. Here drag and drop option is there. So be careful while answering this question. This is something you need to answer very carefully. Okay. So left side you can see, right, and it's given the statement, and right side some options are there. So you need to answer accordingly. Okay. What is the first one? You know these answers. We have already covered this question in your previous set, right? So you will be able to an organization that defines the standard, right? That defines the standard used by the US government. Just think once, twice, you'll be able to answer this question. That is 100% sure. So, an organization, an organization, when it's come to organization, same kind of a question we have done it in, I think, set one. Okay, so the first one is absolutely correct. Okay, an organization is that defines the standard used by US government, ISO only. Now the second one is NIST. So for NIST, an organization that defines all international standards across all industries. Okay, so this is there is a mistake. Okay, there is a mistake. Okay, the first one is your an organization that defines the standard used by US government. Okay, so for this one is NIST, an organization that defines all international standards, that is ISO, across all industries, that is ISO. Okay, so here this has to become, okay, let me tell you, this has to become here. Okay, and this has to become, okay, this is ISO. Okay, GDPR is related to your European policies only, so that is correct only. Dedicated public cloud for federal. When it's come to federal, then it's related to your Azure government agencies in US. That is correct. So let's see the answer. Okay. So question number 31. We have moved to question number. Sorry guys. Yeah, you can see the answer. Right. So this is the answer, guys. Now moving to the next question. That is question number 32. What is that question number 32? 32, it's telling that your company is planned to deploy several web servers. That is fine. Several web server, and uh, and several database servers to to Azure. Okay, and you need to recommend an Azure solution to limit the types of connection from the web server to the database server. So see, if you want to restrict, there is something called, that is NSG, that is Network Security Group. That is the correct answer only. If you want to restrict some of the web server should not talk to the database server, that is NSG, and at the same time Azure Service Bus also. These two answers. Okay, so you can see these two answers is correct only. Okay, so now is this a multiple choice question? So what should you include in recommendation? Both NSG and Azure Service Bus. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 33. To what should an application uh, connect to retrieve security tokens? So, to what should an application connect to retrieve a security token? So, security token is always related to your Active Directory, guys. Okay, security token is always related to your Active Directory. Don't confuse with the Azure Key Vault, or don't confuse with the certificate store for your SSL certificates, Azure Key Vault for your credentials, and here it's asking security tokens. So security tokens you can get it from Azure AD. Okay, that is there. So that is there, and now yeah. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 34. This question requires that you evaluate the underlying text to determine if it is correct or not. Resource groups provide organization with the ability to manage the compliance of Azure resources across multiple subscriptions. Okay, so this is same only if you think a resource group provides organization with the ability, okay, ability, what is that, ability to manage the compliance of Azure resources across multiple subscriptions. Yes, that is true only. The answer is no. I think just think twice. It's telling resource group provides organizations with the ability to manage the compliance. No, compliance should be managed by the management groups. Okay, of Azure resources. So the answer for this one is B. That is management group. So you can see management group, right? Now moving to the next question, that your network contains an Active Directory forest. The forest contains 5,000 user accounts. Your company plans to migrate all your network resources to Azure and to decommission the on-premises data center. You need to recommend a solution to minimize the impact on user after the planned migration. This question is very critical, so you need to answer. Just read once and twice. Your network contains an Active Directory forest, AD forest. So for it, that AD has almost 5,000 users account. Now your companies migrate all your network resources to Azure and to decommission the on-premises data center. Correct? So you need to recommend a solution to minimize the impact on user after the planned migration. Implement Azure multi-factor authentication. It has nothing to do with multi-factor authentication. Sync all the Active Directory user account to Azure Active Directory account. This is the correct answer. We need to sync all Active Directory user account to Azure Active Directory account. Yeah, so this is the correct answer, guys. Here you can see also. Now this question, okay, question number 35. So there will be a picture in the right hand side. Okay, right hand side. So you need to see that picture and you need to answer accordingly. Okay. So what is that question, guys? So just read the question once. You create a resource group named RG1 in Azure Resource Group. Okay. Now you need to present the deletion of resources in RG1. Okay. Which setting should you use to answer? Select the appropriate answer. Okay. So which one you are going to use? So it is very not visible. Also, let me enlarge this. Okay. Just see, you create a resource group named RG1, okay, and resource group 1 in Azure Resource Manager, that is ARM. So you need to prevent the deletion of resources in RG1. So how locks? I think if you remember, same answer we have given. So one administrator, similar kind of a question was there where what we have done is we need to somebody was telling to delete resource group 1, right? So we need an administrator over there. So before administrator only there is locks we can remove, right? So the same question over here only. Okay, so it's telling which option we need to choose. So that is locks. So let's see the answer. Okay. Yeah, you can see the logs is the answer. Okay. It's not logs, it's log. Okay. So now move to the question number 37. Which Azure service you use to store certificates? You know this answer. You know this answer very well. Your certificates, your secrets, where you are going to keep it. Okay, where you are going to keep those things in your Azure keyboard. Okay, you these all questions we have covered almost in the set one or set two. Okay, you have a resource group RG1. You plan to create virtual network and app service in RG1. You need to prevent the creation of virtual machine only in RG1. Okay, so what should what need to prevent the creation of virtual machine in RG1? So no one should be able to create the resources in RG1. So read this question twice, so you will be able to answer, guys. So you need to apply some kind of a policy. Then only won't be able to. People won't be able to. That is what people won't be able to create any VM in that particular RG1. So you have a resource group named RG1. Fine. You plan to create a virtual network and app services in RG1. You need to prevent the creation of virtual machine only in RG1. Okay. So then you need to put a policy. That is called lock has nothing to do with role has nothing to do with one. Tag has nothing to do with this one. So answer is Azure policy. Yeah, right answer. So the next question is what can Azure information protection encryption? What can Azure information okay protection encrypt? What Azure information? This also I did not remember this one, but let me see exactly what should be the answer. Okay, so answer for this one is information protection encrypt, right? Information protection encrypt. What does it mean? Information protection encrypt that has related to document and email message. I think the correct answer is. Yeah, it's document and email message. Okay. So now moving to the next question, guys. What should you use to evaluate whether your company Azure environment meets regulatory requirement? Regulatory requirement. What should you use to evaluate whether your company Azure environment regulates company environment meets the regulatory requirement. The knowledge center website, the advisor blade from the Azure portal, complete compliance manager from the security trust. No, the security center blade from the Azure portal. Yes, this is the answer, guys. Okay, you can see that this is the answer. Okay, now moving to the next question, that is question number 41, and this is the same kind of a question where the statement you need to tell it's no change is needed or there is some change is required. Okay, the question is your company implements Azure policy automatically add a watermark to Microsoft Word document that contains credit card information. Fine. So your company implement Azure policies to automatically add a watermark to Microsoft Azure document that contains credit card policy. No, this is not the right answer. Actually, when your company implements Azure policy, then it is something related to your production, Azure information protection. Okay. So here the underline is telling is instruction is review the underlined text. If it makes the statement correct, select no change is needed. If the statement is incorrect, select the correct choice. The answer is Azure information protection. So here you can see information protection. Now the next question is same only. From Azure Monitor, okay, you can view which user turned off a specific virtual machine during the last 14 days. During the last 14 days. No, Azure Monitor will give you the logs if you remember. Same question we have answered. Azure activity logs. Okay, it doesn't give you it's mainly for Azure activity logs. Okay, so that is the answer. Yes, is that. Okay, moving to the next question, that is question number 43. So this question, you have an Azure virtual network VNet 1 in a resource group named for RG1, and what is that? You assign an Azure policy. Okay, specifying that virtual network are not an allowed resource type in RG1. VNet 1 is deleted automatically. Okay, and review the underline. Okay, it is same only. Whether some change is needed or you need to tell no change is needed. Read the question once again, guys. So you have an Azure virtual network VNet 1 in a resource group named RG1. Fine. You assign an Azure policy. Fine. Specifying a virtual network are not allowed resource type in RG1. VNet 1 is deleted automatically. No, that continues to function normally. You remember similar kind of question just now we have answered, right? That right just now we have answered similar. It has nothing to do with the VNet one if it's deleted automatically also. Okay, fine. Yeah, continues to function normally. Okay, this question, guys, you need to answer yes, no, or like that. Okay. So Azure firewall will encrypt all the network traffic sent from Azure to no. It's apply the rules. It doesn't encrypt anything. This is no. A network security group will encrypt all the network. This is also no. Network security group is to allow your ports, that is inbound and outbound. A virtual machine that runs Windows Server 2016 can encrypt the network traffic sent from the virtual machine to a port on the internet. Yes, it can be. Okay, this is the so yes. So you can see yes. The answer is yes. Now the next question is question number 45. Your company has an Azure environment that contains resources in the several regions. A company policy states that Azure administrators must only be allowed to create additional Azure resources in a region in the country where their offices is located. You need to create the Azure resource that must be used to meet the policy requirement. What should you create? Tell me guys, what should you create? You need to create a policy, right? If it has to meet, if you want to create something, then it has to be, that is what, a policy only. So the answer for this one is nothing but the answer is B. Okay. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 46. This question requires that you evaluate the underlying text to determine if it is correct. Authorization is the process of verifying a user credential. Okay, so no change is needed. Do you think authorization is the process to verify the user credential? Yes or no? You need to tell me. It's not authorization, guys. It's called authentication is used, right? Authentication is used to verify the user credential anywhere, not authorization. It's authentication. So the answer is authentication. Now moving to the next question, you need to continue an Azure solution that meets the following requirement. Secure website from attack, generates report that contains detail of attempted attack. What should you include in the solution? The first thing is you need to do a DDoS protection. If you want to secure your website from attack, this has nothing to do with, if it is related to traffic, then firewall and energy. But if it's related to some attack, some kind of intruder, some kind of what I can say nowadays sorry, viruses, right? So if some kind of some hackers are trying to attack, okay, your website, then how you are going to secure your website, correct? So in that scenario, that is called DDoS protection. Okay, moving to the next question. This you need to answer. Okay, so you plan to implement several security services for an Azure environment. You need to identify which Azure services must be used to meet the following security requirements. Monitor threats by using sensors, enforce Azure multi-factor authentication based on conditions. Okay, which Azure service, which Azure service should you identify for each requirement? To answer, select the appropriate option in the following. Okay, so Azure Monitor. Monitor is for what? You need to tell me the correct answer. No, the monitor threat by using sensor. Monitor threat by using sensor, that is ATP. The Azure Monitor is the wrong answer. Azure Security Group. This is not Azure Active Directory. This is not. So answer for monitor threat by using sensor is Azure Advanced Threat Protection. Okay, that is ATP. Enforce Azure MFA based on condition. So that is AD. That is Azure Active Directory. These two are not at all the right one. So you can remove this one. You can remove this one. Okay. Take this one. Okay. And put it over here. Okay. Right. Okay. So this is the correct answer. Monitor threats by using sensor, that is AATP. Okay, enforce Azure MFA based on condition, that is Active Directory. Okay. Yeah, you can see it. Okay, you need to answer yes or no like this. So from Azure Service Help, an administrator can view the health of all the services deployed to an Azure environment. Okay, and all the other services available in Azure. Being administrator is true. That is yes. The answer is yes only for this one. Okay. Now the next question is from Azure Service Health, an administrator can create a rule to be alerted if Azure Service fails. Yes, that is also true. From Azure Service Health, an administrator can prevent a service failure from affecting a specific. No, he cannot. See, he can do the monitoring, he can check the health and everything, but he cannot. Failure, he cannot, right? That is, he can't do that one. So, answer is no. Okay, moving to the next question, that is question number 50. Your company plans to migrate on-premises data. You can answer this one very easily. You need to identify whether Azure complies with company's regional requirement. You know this answer. You should tell me. Your company plans to migrate all on-premises data to Azure. You need to identify whether Azure complies with the company regional requirements. What should you use? Tell me, guys. What should you are going to use? So you are going to use the trust center. Nothing to do with the knowledge center. Nothing to do with the Azure marketplace. Nothing to do with the Azure portal. The answer is D. That is trust center. Okay. Now moving to the question number 50. If the statement is correct, so no change is needed. If the statement is not correct, you need to tell what will be the right answer. Okay. So Azure Key Vault is used to store secrets. That is fine. For Azure Active Directory user accounts. Okay. So Azure Key Vault is used to store secrets for no. See, Azure Key Vault is used to store the secret for server appliance, for your server credentials, not for the Active Directory Active Directory credentials is absolutely that is something different. This is not the right answer. So answer for this one is server appliances. Okay, you can see also. Now moving to the next question, guys. The question is 52. Authorization to access. Sorry. Authorization to access Azure resources can be provided only to Azure Active Directory. Yes or no? The answer is no. Authorization, no, it's authentication to access Azure resources. Its authorization to access Azure resources can be only provided to Active Directory users. No, it's not like that. Okay, so identities stored in Azure Active Directory, third-party cloud service, and on-premises Active Directory can be used to access Azure resources. Yes, Azure has built-in authentication and authorization services that provide secure access to Azure resources. Yes. So you can see no, yes, yes, and now moving to the next question, guys. You will be able to answer this question, I am sure. Your company plans to automate the deployment of servers to Azure. Your manager is concerned that you may expose administrative credentials during the deployment. So you need to recommend an Azure solution that encrypts the administrative credential during the deployment. Okay. So what should you include in the recommendation? You know this answer for servers, your resources, your a that is your Azure Key Vault. Just now we have answered similar question, right? Okay, now moving to the next question, that is you plan to deploy several Azure virtual machines. So you need to control the ports that devices on the internet can be used to access the virtual. You know this answer, yeah. This is very simple. That is network security group, inbound and outbound. So many times I've told you. For ports only, the security group is there, right? So answer is security group. Okay, now the next question is you need to tell that no change is needed or we need to take some another answer. So, what is the question, guys? So the question is, you have a several virtual machine in Azure subscription. Fine, you create a new subscription, the virtual machine cannot be moved to the new subscription. No, the virtual machine moved to new subscription. Can be moved to new subscription. See, it's not like that you have a several virtual machine in Azure subscription and you create a new subscription, so you can move it. That is the upgradation, right? So you taken a new subscription. Suppose you have migrated yourself from the developers plans to standard, right? So the whatever the virtual machines are under developers subscription can be moved to a standard subscription, right? So yes, the virtual machine can be moved to the new subscription. Okay. So yes, you can see also, right? The okay. Now moving to the next question, guys. You attempt to create several managed Microsoft SQL Server instances in the Azure environment and receive a message that you must increase your Azure subscription limit. What should you do to increase the limit? Create a new support request. That is what I told you. If you have to increase the limit, okay, for anything, even if you want to create number of virtual machines more, then every time you need to create a ticket. Okay, support ticket request. Okay, so that is the answer for this one. You can see create a new support request. Okay, now this is yes no something like that you need to answer. In Azure, in Azure Active Directory Premium, at least 99.99% availability is guaranteed. That is true. If you go and see the different subscription plan, this is the premier one. So this is the top most. There are total four, you know, right? There is one called your developer, standard, professional, direct, and premiers, which you will get 99.99%. The service level agreement SLA for Azure Active Directory basic is the same as the SLA for Azure Active Directory free. No, this is wrong answer. So for SLA, that is service level agreement, is different for from your basic other subscription, right? And you all paying Azure customer can claim a credit if their monthly uptime percent is below guaranteed amount in SLA. That is true. Yes. So these are the series of questions or like how? Okay, you can see the answer, right? Yeah, the first one is yes, then no, and then yes. Okay, correct. Moving to the question number 58, that is all Azure services in private preview must be accessed by using a separate Azure portal. You remember there is something I told you: private preview, public preview, and general availability, right? So it's telling you all Azure services in a private preview must be accessed by using a separate Azure portal. No, Azure Azure services in public preview can be used in production environment. Yes. Azure services in public preview are subject to service level agreement. No, that has nothing to do with it. Yeah, you can see that. Now moving to the next question, guys. A standard support plan is included in an Azure free account. What do you think? No. A standard support plan is included in Azure free account. Why? Standard subscription plan will come in a free fund. No, that is the wrong answer. Okay. What is the next one? A premium support plan can only be purchased by companies that have an enterprise agreement. Yes, true. Support from MSDN forum is only provided to companies that have a pay as you go subscription. No, not like that. We have given similar kind of question in set 1. Okay, moving to the next question, that is question number 60. So this is interesting, guys. Okay, this is very much interesting and you need to answer. Okay, so how should you calculate the monthly uptime percentage? To answer, select the appropriate option in the area. So you need to select one option from here, one option from there, and like that. So how should you calculate the monthly uptime percentage? So maximum available minutes minus downtime means at how many times your VMs, you can say, I can say, or like that, is on, means maximum available minutes, means they are up and running, minus how many minutes, like they are down. So that is what maximum available minutes minus downtime in minutes. Okay, that is maximum available minutes. Okay, so that is your 100. So these three, okay, this third one is this one, this one should be green. Okay, and then your maximum available minutes. Okay, and then 100. Okay, I don't know the answer for this one. Let's see. Yeah, the maximum available minute downtime in minutes, then maximum available minutes, and then 100. That is the formula. Moving to the question number 61, guys. For each of the, you need to answer yes and no. Okay, like that you need to answer. Okay. By creating additional resource group in Azure subscription, additional costs are incurred. Incurred. No. Okay. By copy several gigabytes of data to Azure from an on-premises network over an VPN, additional data transfer costs are incurred. No. By copy several GB of data from Azure to an on-premises network over VPN, additional data transfer costs are incurred. That is yes. You can see also. Okay. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 62. So you can create an Azure support request from support.microsoft.com. So you need to tell, okay, you need to tell me whether a change is needed or no. You know, to create a support request, you need to log in to that particular portal, Azure portal. You need to. From there on, you can raise a support. There is no separate URL for that one. Okay. Okay. Now moving to the next question, guys. That is question number 63. What is the guaranteed in Azure Service Level Agreement? What is the guaranteed in SLA? That is uptime. Okay, these are the Linux questions only related. Now the next question is, your company plans to request an architectural review of an Azure environment from Microsoft. Okay, the company currently has a basic support plan. You need to recommend a new support plan for the company. The solution must minimize the cost. So, which support plan should you recommend? Cost, for cost, you need to go for professional director. Uh, yeah, yeah, it's professional director. Yeah. So the next question, guys, what is the required use Azure cost management? A dev test subscription? No. Software assurance? No. An enterprise agreement? Yes. For cost management. Yes. Okay. Now the next question is, what is that, guys? Your company has a 10 department. The company plans to implement an Azure environment. You need to ensure that each department can use a different payment option for the Azure services it consumes. What should you create for each department? So what should you create for each department is, that is subscription. That is what I can do. Okay. A reservation, a subscription, a resource group, a container instance. The company is planning to implement an Azure environment. You need to ensure that each department can use a different payment option. Different payment option, then different subscription plan. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Moving to the next question, that is yes and no. You need to answer like that. So an Azure free account has a spending limit. Yes, true. An Azure free account has a limit for the amount of data that can be uploaded to Azure. That is true. An Azure free account can be contain an unlimited number of web apps. That is wrong. That is no. So you can see yes, yes, and no. Okay, moving to the next question, guys. That is what is that? A single Microsoft account can be used to manage multiple Azure subscription. a single AD account or Microsoft account. Yes, that is true. Okay. Two Azure subscription can be merged into a single subscription by creating support requests. No, that is not at all possible. You need to upgrade yourself. You cannot merge. Okay, you can upgrade. You can move from one plan to another plan, but you cannot merge. So company can store resources in multiple subscription. A company can store resources in multiple subscriptions. Yes. Okay. So the answer, you can see the answer also yes, no, and yes. Okay. Moving to the next question, guys. That is, this is also yes, no. You need to answer. Okay. So please be careful while answering. The service level agreement guaranteed uptime for paid Azure services is 99.9%. This is true. Yes. Companies can increase the service level agreement guaranteed uptime by adding Azure resources through multiple reasons. Yes. Companies can increase the service level agreement guaranteed uptime by purchasing multiple subscriptions. No. The first and second is right. The third one is no. Yes. Let's see the answer. Okay. So now moving to the next question, guys. Question number 72. Sorry, question number 70. What is that one? Storing 1 TB of data in Azure blob storage will always cost the same, regardless the Azure region in which the data is located. This is no, wrong, absolutely. When you use a general purpose V2 Azure storage account, you are only charged for the amount of data that is stored. All read and write operations are free. No, it's not like that. This is also wrong. Transferring data between Azure storage accounts in different Azure region is free. This is absolutely wrong. So all three are no. Okay, so you can see all three are no only. Okay, moving to the question number 71. What is the question, guys? So which Azure service provides a set of version control tool to manage code? So there are two. Okay, that is, see, it's only I know because I have worked in Azure Devops. So version control tool, it's not like Azure has a Git repo. It has its own repo. Okay, so that is called Azure repo. That is the answer. One thing, and yeah, that will be the answer. And other can be your Azure Dev Test Lab also. Okay, this can be also used for that one. So, but there is a confusion, right? But according to me, the answer is Azure repos. Okay, Azure repos only. It's not Dev Test. It's only Azure repo. Okay. Yes, it is correct. You can see. Okay, and now the final question, guys. Okay, so your company, okay, your company plans to migrate to Azure. The company has several departments. All the Azure resources used by each department will be managed by the department administrator. What are two possible techniques to segment Azure for departments? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Note each correct solution. Selection is worth of 1 point. So your company plans to migrate to Azure. The company has a several department. All the Azure resources used by each department will be managed by a department administrator. What are two possible techniques to segment Azure for the department? So one is your subscription. Okay, that is your multiple subscription and multiple resource. Okay, let's see the answer. Yes. One is your multiple subscription. Only two answer is correct. So B is not the right answer. Only A and D is the right answer. So there is some here mistake. Okay, nothing to do with Active Directory. Azure multiple subscription and your multiple resource group. This is the answer. So guys, we are done with the AZ 900 question answers. That is set 1, set 2, set 3 and set 4. Okay, it has almost more than 200 questions we have covered in your 4 videos. Okay, that is video number 1 having 60 question video, that is different modules, right? So we have gone through different modules. There are total 4 modules. We have covered 4 modules. and first module around 60%, second module 50%, again third module is around 60, and the fourth module is around 72%. So it's more than 200 plus questions are there, and I am guaranteed you. So after doing these questions thoroughly, you will be able to pass the AZ 900 Microsoft Azure Fundamental Certification 100%. So best of luck to you for the certification. My best wishes for you, and those who are new to this channel, please don't forget to share the videos to get benefit others also, right guys?